My name's Liz Hackett, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina, which is in the mountains of North Carolina. It's kind of a smaller city, and I am a mom to three. My kids are older. I just have one left at home in high school and two away in college. And I'm married. My husband's a contractor here in Asheville and builds custom homes. So we do some work together and a lot of work not together. We kind of have our own things going on. Outside of work and life, I'm a big runner. I love to run. I just signed up for the New York Marathon yesterday, so I'm super excited.
Wow, congrats. Did you get in? Are you in the lottery still?
They just did the lottery. I'm going to be a charity runner.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, I like being outside, and, I've lived here for 24 years. So, Asheville is home for sure. And it's a big part of who I am. I think where I live is important to me.
Asheville's beautiful. We have family there that retired there, and it is.
Oh, really?
It's a joy to visit.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful place.
Love it. Awesome. All right. Well, we are going to dig in. Tell me how you came to design, or did design find you?
So I think it found me after I started paying attention to the fact that I had always been doing it, which is meaning my own homes, of course, having my oldest is 23. So we've been doing houses, husband being a builder, we've moved a lot, and I was always enjoying the typical parts of design, like setting up your house. And then I look back and I realized every friend and acquaintance was always asking me to help them. Absolutely loved it. And then about, I think 17 years ago, when Kevin, my husband, started his contracting business, I was helping him. We did some spec homes and really enjoying that process. And I changed jobs, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do next. And I had a very good friend of mine that said, if you could do anything, what would you do? And I said, I want to work in design. I want to help people with houses. And she went, well, then that's what you should do. So I had a connection through her with another woman in Asheville that hired me as her assistant, which felt like I had very little experience at the time. I think I had intuition and all, but I had never worked as someone's assistant. And that was awesome. I worked with her for almost 4 years and just did everything she needed, like all the assistant type things, running around, getting samples, meeting with clients. I learned a ton. And she was a little older. She was getting ready to retire. And I think it was in 2016, 17. She said, you're ready to go out on your own. And I was so nervous. I remember saying I don't think I can do this. I don't know, what's this going to look like? And so I just went for it. And I just decided I was going to start my own business, and luckily got a job for kitchen renovation. That was my very first job, and learned along the way.
Yeah, not a small first job.
No, it wasn't. But because we had built our own homes before, I definitely had construction experience. And that is where my interests lie. That's what I prefer to do.
What a kind mentor to say you're ready.
Yeah. She's amazing. She was an amazing woman. She is an amazing woman, and she was so supportive and always just cheering me on. And she knew one day I probably would do this on my own, but I think she knew it before I did, because I felt so comfortable being her assistant and didn't even know what it could look like on my own.
That's so awesome. It's such a good story. Beautiful. I love that. Okay, so what was the vision for your design firm when you first did go out on your own?
I don't know. I had a very clear vision, to be perfectly honest. I really didn't. My first vision was I'm going to be working. I need to start making more money. That was vision. How can I do this? I had kids starting college. I had another one going into a middle school with tuition. And I was like, these expenses are huge. I want to help with this. So it started out really practical, I would say it started at less big vision and more kind of this singular, how can I help my family and my life vision? And then it grew from there. And I think I didn't start thinking bigger for probably 2 or 3 years into my business.
And then what did thinking bigger look like then?
As I was learning, I was somebody that as I start something new, I have to learn everything I can possibly learn about it. It's just I feel more comfortable being educated about things. And as I was learning and then looking at other businesses and realizing the potential that is out there for a design business, I was excited about it and realizing like what that could look like and how, I guess, how I could shape my business and maybe even narrow down to what I want to do to be more successful instead of like chasing jobs here, there, and everywhere that weren't so great.
I love it.
In the beginning, I took a lot of everything.
Yes. Well, yeah, we just are trying to get some sort of traction in the beginning, right?
Yes.
Just
And I kept saying like, and I still say it's all experience, right? Like all of it is experience and it's been great. But I've definitely grown from those jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, so that was the vision. Started out with contributing to the family and then grew over time. What did it actually look like in the beginning?
In the beginning, I think I had like that one job, like I said, the kitchen renovation, and I was like gung ho, right? Of course, I was so into it. I try to be very organized, but I can remember like I only had one job. So that was doing that nonstop. That was my focus. And then as I got more jobs and I tried to get the balance of that and, eventually I still work from home, but I had made my own office, my own space, investing in the supplies I need, and really becoming more professional than just feeling like I was helping somebody out with their kitchen renovation. All of a sudden I was like, you're doing way more than that, and giving myself more credit. And I feel like it sounds like, I guess I just didn't realize, like I said, that it was growing into a bigger thing.
Yep, absolutely. So what kind of challenges did you face in those early days when you started to grow? And
honestly, I think one of the biggest ones, to be completely like open about it, is feeling what's it called, like the comparison syndrome. What do people call that?
I don't know, but I love Marie Forleo. I don't know if you've ever watched her stuff. She's great. She's a great marketing mentor. She calls it Comparschlager, like Goldschlager. Like
I haven't heard that.
It's hysterical. She's like, don't drink the Comparschlager.
Yes, but that is like, the comparison is a thief of joy is the quote.
Yes.
That I struggled with that a lot in the beginning. I struggled with feeling, am I good enough? Like, can I charge this amount? Am I worth it? Is my work worth it? Do I know enough? Like I was worried about the education. I did not go to design school, and I was worried about that being like looking bad, or I don't know. And so talking to other people, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I read a ton of books, and I realized that's not like the one thing that makes you good at your business at all. But it took me a while to have that confidence. I think I did struggle with that in the beginning. I didn't struggle as much with the jobs and the clients. I felt very comfortable working with them. I realized that I was offering them something they needed, but I think it was my personal self-confidence that I had to work on, behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I'm a second career change designer as well. And I studied at Parsons, but I never signed up to get like a certificate or a degree or anything. I just was enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I definitely remember the early days of thinking like, I need to get some of those letters behind my name. I got to figure out how to become legitimate, right?
Like someone's going to ask me and I'm going to look not, sufficient enough or something. And I've let that go for sure.
Yeah,
I really have. And maybe that comes with age and experience, but I got caught up in that for a while.
Sure. And I think it comes with completed beautiful jobs and referrals. Like at some point you go, you know what? In 20 years, no client has ever asked me.
Never.
Never. Not once.
No, never, never.
So for those of you who are out there, second careers or jumping in with experience only, 20 years, no one has ever asked.
Yeah, that's and nor should they, because you're doing a great job and you're not lacking anything for it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, you self-educated, you work with people, you read the books, you do the work, you listen to the podcast, you're out there.
And I do so much of that, like every single day. So I almost to the point that I probably do too much of it. We'll talk about is how I found the standard, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so funny. I'm at the point right now where I'm like, I cannot read another business book until I implement all the lists of things that I need to do from the last one. Like, I'm like, it's time for fiction, people. We have to just take a brain break. So yeah.
Yes. It's like when you were a young parent and you read all the parenting books. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I need to just stop and parent my kids, as I've learned and then know how, and quit taking all this advice in. So it was good to focus all of that. That's why I like your program, because it took all of it, it put it in one spot, and I wasn't looking everywhere else for things and for answers.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was exactly what I was in need of. Like, I was like, okay, I've got options. Now I need my path, right?
Exactly.
The actual path.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So how were those early struggles making you feel in the business?
Just a little less confident, unsure of myself, unknowing like how to charge. That was a huge one. Am I charging too much? Am I charging too little? What does that look like? How to invoice, all the details of a business that I didn't know and had to learn.
Yeah. And they're not readily out there.
No. And everyone says, if you ask them, because I'm very open, like with the people around here in the community, and I try to get together with other designers, but everybody does it different. So there wasn't this one answer that I was ready for or knew that I was looking for.
Yep, definitely. So when did you realize it was time for a change?
Probably like the end of 2019, I would say, to be honest, because when did you start the Standard?
1 month into the pandemic. So what was that? April of 19?
19? No, yeah. 20.
20, must have been 20, right?
20, because that was March.
Yes, April of 2020.
Because I had been looking into a different, like it was a retreat program for designers, and it got canceled because of pandemic in the spring. And I think you might have been on a podcast or something with Luann. Mm-hmm. And I listened, I was like, this is what I need. Like, I'm all in. And then, like all the uncertainty of COVID. So I know you do it like twice a year, right?
Yep.
So I had waited, and I kept telling myself, like, I need to wait until I'm more successful, or I'm more of a professional business. And I caught myself saying that, and I was like, why am I doing that? Like, no, this is what's going to get me there. So that's what finally led me to sign up, and then just like, okay, I'm ready to learn. And the fact that I can keep learning, I didn't have to do it all in 1 month was when I knew. I was like, this is it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible, because it is a chicken or the egg, right? You can wait to do a program like the Standard when you are more successul, but that is the path to be more successful. So it does sort of, I get the chicken or the egg conversation a lot.
Yeah. Like someone said, like, invest in yourself. No one else is going to. And I was like, yeah, that's true. I need to do that.
That is the ultimate truth. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
It's funny. My husband is a Wall Street banker investor guy. And he's always like, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that. And I was like, you know what we should invest in? And he's like, what? I'm like, my business. Yes. We should invest. We should put some money behind me. And he's always like, we are doing that.
Right.
I'm supporting you. And I'm like, no, we should get, and that's part of like what allowed me to develop the Standard. I was like, no, I want to put some effort into like a new thing. And it's right. So important to say, like, I'm worth it. Like, it's going to work out. I'm going to get my return on investment, Yeah. And you really do have to believe in yourself to be able to do that.
I knew there was nothing I was going to lose. I mean, beyond just money, knowing like I'm not going to lose anything, definitely a benefit for my business. And then the amount I'm going to benefit is up to me. How much am I going to take out of it? So that was a good instigator for me to really like dig in.
Yeah. And you have, which I love.
Yeah.
We're going to dig into the details of that. So before you found the Standard, you were talking about searching for solutions to overcome these challenges. You were looking at a retreat, you were reading the books, you're doing the podcasts. And then you found us on a podcast, like you said. Mm-hmm. What did you notice the difference between the Standard and your kind of the other options that you were weighing?
It was the way you came across when you described it, and what I looked into for the details is that it went beyond just an overall like broad picture of talking about these topics, and it gave you solutions. So the fact that you had, your calendar, your fee calendar, the templates that I could literally use, the contract that you share, like this was real stuff that I was searching for. I didn't want to talk about how to do a contract. I wanted that contract so I could
Yeah.
use it and see what it's like and then make it my own.
Mhm.
And that to me was just like, all of those things were so invaluable because, I can get a lot of the ideas and theories from people, but not the real, like, meaty stuff that I wanted.
Right. 14 pages that you can just take and make your own.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I had a lawyer and for the contract, and I had done a contract and I wasn't really happy with it. It wasn't as specific as I wanted. And then I realized like, oh, here's what I'm missing. It was so helpful.
That's awesome. It's wonderful. So I have to ask the question, why did you choose us? And I'm so thankful that you did.
I mean, I guess just like I said, like you were so inviting. I could tell that you were there, like you were really there. It wasn't like I just bought something and never talked to anyone again. Anytime I've reached out, y'all have been so, helpful always. So I was really into the community aspect of it. I was really into that when you signed up, you would meet with the groups and go through the program. I'm not someone that will sit through a program by myself. I just, like if it was all downloaded at once and I won't do it. So to have that accountability as a group was probably the biggest reason. Like I had to be ready and be like, okay, we're all going to talk about this and I better do my homework. And then I would do it. Otherwise I would probably procrastinate. So that was great.
That's awesome. So let's talk about that. You actually created we greatly encourage designers to create an accountability group when they come into the program, but you created like the mother of accountability. Tell us about that.
It was, so in our Facebook group for the standard, I was on there one day, just looking at comments and I was feeling like, so I'm a solopreneur. I don't have anyone working with me in the office. I have contract workers, but they're all virtual.
Yep.
So it's lonely. It can be a lonely job from the day to day. And so I was on the Facebook group and I finally, I just posted like on a total whim, hey, does anyone want to form an accountability group with me for the standard? I want to go through the whole thing as a group and really dig in even deeper and ask these questions. And I just like press post and I was like, no one's going to want to do this. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't like feeling vulnerable and it felt vulnerable. But I get a ton of responses and people were like the same thing, like, absolutely. Yep, we're in. We've been looking for the same thing because we went through the program and now we want to follow up with our accountability to really everybody had a different reason, to be honest, of what we're working on, but we all have the same goal is to just fine tune things.
I love it. I love it. So tell me how big is it? How often are you meeting?
There's about 15 of us in the group at this point. And I looked actually yesterday, we meet every Monday afternoon via Zoom, and we're all over the country. I've spread from coast to coast, which is cool.
Yep.
So I host the meetings and you never like people just hop on and typically there's about 8 people on each meeting. And what we're doing is going through each module every week, and some of like the beefier modules, like I think it was module 3, we took several weeks to do to just really dig in, and we kind of do our homework ahead of time. It's almost like we're doing it again, but in a small group, so we can ask these questions of one another, share resources about how we've implemented the standard, and then it just is very organic. It just goes from there.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. And I looked and we've met like for 4 months, we've been meeting. So some of our meetings are just, I think you had this idea, like the client 911.
Yeah.
If somebody gets on there, it's like, oh my God, I'm having a problem. Somebody help me. And we talk through it. So it's been great. They're new friends now too. And it's been a good support group.
Awesome. Yeah, I was so excited to come and meet with you guys one time and just pop in and talk through ideas. So it's been great just to get to see it in action. I love it.
No, it was awesome to have you join us. Everybody really loved that and just felt like, like you were taking an invested interest because you created us. You brought us together in a way. And so it's cool.
I just pointed which direction to go. You all created yourselves. That's awesome. I love it. Okay. So I'm digging into more questions here. Were you hesitant about investing in the standard before you did pull the trigger?
I was hesitant, like, if I'm gonna invest money in a program, I want to make sure it's the right program. That was probably my biggest hesitation. I was fine with like knowing I needed to spend money to learn. And so I wanted to make sure, okay, am I spending it in the right way possible? And you had hosted some live Zooms at the time that I went on, and really you answered people's questions in the chat, the live stuff. And that's when I was like, yep, this feels like the right thing for me.
Awesome. Love
Yeah.
it. Was there anything that was deterring you from doing the standard? Did you have any naysayers in your life, or was it all systems go?
Yeah, no, not really. No, nothing really deterring me. Nobody deterring me now.
Yeah, love that. And let's see, let's move on to the results, shall we?
Sure.
Tell me about the moment when you realized you were actually overcoming these challenges.
Well, there's probably a few to answer that. One thing is my client feedback. I've had several clients, and I realize this now, have said how my process is organized and that it made it really easy for them to go through. I don't even know if they know they're going through a process, but they are. And they've given me a lot of good feedback. I just sent away recently, like trying to get some reviews on Google, and that was a lot of my reviews for talking about that. And I realized, like, okay, they're getting it and they're feeling that I am keeping them along this path to the end result of their design project, completion.
Yep.
So I think that's been a huge thing for me it's a compliment to know, like, it was a good experience for them. And me too. It took off stress of what I was doing before, feeling so disorganized with a client process, and now not feeling that way.
Yeah. Oh, I remember when I made the shift from just fighting fires all day, just handling whatever was in front of me or top of mind, to methodically going through something step by step. And like, I mean, my sleep improved, my skin improved. Like it's one of those things where you're like, what was I doing before I got this kind of figured out? And of course,
it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be on fire all day, all the time, right?
And I think the reputation of maybe the industry is that it's that way. And I work with a lot of contractors, and I think they are used to that, like kind of a scattered system and process. And I have also heard from them that, I have the information they need when they need it, and try to stay on top of things with their schedule. So that's been great too, because it, helps me get jobs.
Absolutely. Yeah. And from the referrals and helps you. And there's nothing wrong with when the contractor, is hired first and they're interviewing multiple designers, the contractor's saying, this one's really organized too, like, or that one's easy to work with, or I've worked with her many times. And that's, I'm giving that like gold star. That goes a long way.
It does. It does. In our town's not that big. And so probably word of mouth is most of all of my business.
That's amazing. Good for you. It's wonderful. So what have you been able to achieve since taking the standard? Like, where are things, what's the transition look like?
The transition's definitely gone from doing smaller projects, like helping really little things like reupholster sofas and doing window shades. And like I said, like whatever I could get, not being as picky about my clients, to really narrowing down my ideal client and realizing that I can go after them and then they can work within my system, my business, instead of me having to change for each client. And that was something you had said one time. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, of course they're coming to me. I have the model, they work within it in a good way. So I've definitely gotten bigger jobs. I do a lot of new construction. And so recently in the past year, like I've gotten my biggest new construction job since starting the standard and implementing it. So that has been like my biggest win so far, I think.
Awesome. Oh, that's amazing. Gives me chills. So excited.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So good. Talking about knowing who your ideal client is, and that it's okay to hold out for them, right?
Yeah.
And also that when you create a defined process, that process that your Google reviews are referring to, right? And you hold to it, you create expectations and boundaries, I always talk about, right? It really is so good for the client that says yes to that. And there are going to be clients that say no to that, right? That say, no, I want to dictate the pace. I want to dictate.
Yeah.
I want to do the purchasing. I want to do it my way, whatever. That's totally cool. There's probably someone out there who's like, oh, you want to do the purchasing? Great, do it. Like everyone just has to find their person. And I think like you said, when you know what your goal is, when you know where you're going, you can actually steer towards it, right? And it sounds
Absolutely. And like I've been able now to say no to those jobs that I would have said yes to before. And one in particular was a pretty large job. And he was doing that where like, oh no, tell me about your discount or I'll purchase this, and really cherry picking everything. And I finally said, we are not the right fit. And I mean, it was scary to say that because I turned down income, but you know what? It also that other job came up. So
Right.
it was okay.
Yes. And energetically, there's always another job, like there are more homes and there are designers, and they're always will be.
I agree. Yeah. And you're getting like, I get inquiries and they're not going to always be the right one. And I'm happy to refer them on. And I don't feel like I'm making a bad decision to do that because they're just not for me and they may be for someone else. And that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. At your point where you are in your life, in your career, right? And like you said, you can refer that to a designer who is super eager to just get some window shade jobs.
Sure.
Everyone's going to be at different places in different times of their lives.
Yeah. I think like just even going to the standard, taking the time to reflect on my business this way has helped the biggest, like just really saying, what do I want, and realizing it. And then putting that thought question behind me and now going after it has been huge.
Yes. Oh, that's a huge win. Amazing. Amazing. So how would you describe your business now?
I think it's still growing. I hope it's still growing. I really feel like in the next 2 years, I'm going to be ready to take another leap of growth. I really want to expand and hire like a employee, in-person employee, and change maybe the model of the types of job, not the model, but really just do new construction. And get rid of some of those smaller jobs that I'm doing. I have meaning the furniture jobs only. I would like to do, like the whole package.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but that's my goal right now.
Awesome. Beautiful. Let's see, we did wins. Okay. So I know that's the current goals, but have you thought even like that, maybe that's 3 years, right? Have you even thought like 10 years out? Like, have you leaned that far out into the future to do kind of dreams that are a little bit beyond goals? Like you're not step by stepping them yet?
Yes, I have. And, it's like scary to say those out loud. I think so. In 10 years, I could imagine kind of the opposite where I'm winding down. But I would love to be able to do like a few really key jobs a year that also allow me to have like a couple months off in the winter to travel as my kids are getting older and they're moving all over the place. So really it looks like bigger jobs, but less of them. And I think my biggest goal, whether it's 3 years or 10 years or whatever, is to be a name in this town that people, when they think of me as like, oh, she does really great work. Her projects are really great, puts out beautiful work would be my main goal.
I bet you they already do.
I don't know. Some people, but
I think you can probably put a check mark next to that goal.
I would hope, that would be great.
That's beautiful. Well, I can't thank you enough for telling us all about you and just getting to know the path, the journey that you've been on. Is there anything else you want to tell me while we're hanging?
I just think, I'm just really thankful. I want to thank you for putting yourself out there for all of us, because it's exactly what I needed and still need. And I do rely on it a lot. I open up my standard, program probably every day and like check in. Like I said, I have to keep on top of things to keep them fresh. And it has been immeasurably helpful for my business. I know it has gotten me further along quicker than I would have been on my own. So thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yay.
Pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be in your business in that little way and just seeing it have, synergy and moving you forward like that. It's amazing.
Absolutely.